Good afternoon. Those of you that follow my channel and watch my videos on a regular basis will know that I just received a couple of OS FS120 Surpass engines. One was in what I would consider poor shape due to the crankcase damage and the lack of a pump. The other we'll talk about in a second. But as you can see, I've got both of these engines right here. This is the one I did a video on, I believe I did a video on disassembling this engine, because this will become the parts engine. I cleaned this thing all up, or cleaned the parts up, and now, seeing as it doesn't have a pump, and I don't think it was, it can be run without it. In fact, my theory on this engine was that the previous owner actually attempted to try to run this engine without the pump, and that's why it never got really run all that much, because I just don't think he was successful in getting it to run without the pump. That's my theory anyway. So that engine aside, I was looking a little bit closer at this engine, and I've come to the conclusion that I think this is an extremely low runtime engine. I believe it was run once or maybe twice. And with that thought, I'm hoping that maybe the pump is still fine and operational. I have no idea the age of this engine. I think this engine came out in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm not sure. I don't know the history of the engine. But let me show you why I think this is a very low runtime engine. If you look in here, the exhaust valve stem. Now this engine didn't come with an exhaust, but if you look at the exhaust valve stem, you can see it's actually shiny. I don't see any real evidence of any carbon buildup that would lead me to believe that this engine has had a lot of runs on it at all. And again, let me pull this plug and see if I can get this piston top dead center here, and see, you can see that that piston head looks completely clean. So with these things, these facts, I have decided that I'm not going to disassemble this engine. I really kind of wanted to at least take the head off and look at the top of the piston, but now I'm not really sure that's necessary. So what I've done here is I went ahead and I went out today and I bought a brand new fuel tank. I don't typically run 3-line fuel tanks. I just don't. But the manual for this engine suggests a 3-line tank, and I've got this thing plugged up so that it'll go on my stand. That's why the links are the way they are, because I had to, my stand, it'll actually be sitting more like this. But so on the pump here, this fitting here is the one that, this is the output of the pump, and it goes into the carb. This is the fuel inlet to the pump, so that's going to the pickup line on the tank. This line here is, it says it's a return, but what I think it actually is it's actually the pressure line. It's the line that's actually putting a little bit of pressure, because this engine says specifically in the manual that it doesn't need exhaust muffler pressure, because I think you're getting a small amount of pressure built in here, even though it says to leave this vent line open. I think it's giving it a little bit of positive pressure. So I've got this thing all plumbed up, and I'm actually going to run this engine. Now, I can't run it as it is right now. I took a chance and made an investment in this engine, and the investment was a proper safety lock nut assembly and in a whole exhaust. Because I've got an OS 91 Surpass, but the exhaust doesn't fit, and I don't have any other exhausts that fit this. So I end up buying an entire exhaust assembly for this engine and the proper safety lock nut set, because of the fact that I really wanted, even though I've got a double jam nut on this mock-up here, I really want the proper safety lock nut set, because in the event that this pump isn't working properly, I really want to avoid a detonation in this prop coming off, at me. So what I've done is I went ahead and bought those two items, and that was an investment of $75, and I hope it's a good investment, because if I can get this engine to run, and if this pump diaphragm, I'm not sure exactly what the innards of this pump are, But if it has a diaphragm, I'm hoping it's intact and good, so it will actually run. I have very low confidence that this engine will run properly without the pump, and if the pump isn't running or operating properly either. So I don't know. The other thing I noticed, that on the OS instructions it says they put some paint on this screw, and it says specifically don't be messing with this screw. So it looks like it hasn't been tampered with. It looks like the blue paint they put on that, it looks like it still carries over here, so hopefully that wasn't messed with at all. So if that wasn't messed with and the pump is good, we should have a good operational engine here. And I put a little bit of Marvel Mystery Oil in here just to kind of lube up the innards a little bit. So I'm hoping that when my exhaust assembly and prop nut assembly arrive, I should be here by the end of the week, that I'll be able to make a video of this thing running, and hopefully it'll run well. So stay tuned for more on this awesome engine, and hopefully we'll get it running.